Raku Gavrilov has been caught on the security camera of Hyrila Health Center at 0:28 when he has walked towards the future crime scene, and another time at 1:05 when he has left from the crime scene with a bag in his hand. But let's start this video by watching the MTV3 news at the first. Video recording. MTV3 News.
Hyrylä on 8000 hengen rauhallinen taajama Tuusulassa, 25 kilometriä Helsingistä pohjoiseen. Sateisena, osin myrskyisenä viikonloppuyönä marraskuussa 2015 keskustassa sijaitsevalta parkkipaikalta löytyi naisen ruumis.
No, alkutilanne tietenkin äärimmäisen hankala oli, että kun tutkinnallisesti kun ajattelee, me oltiin ulkona tapahtunut henkirikos, sieltä löytyy vainaja, löytyy parkkipaikalta. Ei oikeastaan muuta tietoa siinä vaiheessa ja odotetaan sitten niin kuin tekniikan tuloksia. Tekniikka tutkii sen vainajan ja sen jälkeen ruvetaan niin kuin selvittää, että mitä on tapahtunut ja mihin suuntaan me voidaan lähteä meidän tutkintaa suuntaamaan.
Uhri oli 48-vuotias vantaalainen perheenäiti. Aviomies oli ilmoittanut hänet kadonneeksi samana yönä muutamaa tuntia aiemmin.
Uhri oli ollut viettämässä iltaa läheisessä ravintolassa tässä muutaman 100 metrin päässä ja hän oli sitten lähtenyt sitä kävelemään ja soitti matkallaan sitten aviomiehelle, että voisiko tulla hakemaan.
Aviomies kuuli sen puhelun aikana, kuinka hänen vaimonsa siinä surmattiin.
No, tässä tapauksessa ilmeisesti näin on juuri käynyt, että se viimeiset sanat niin aviomies kyllä kuuli puhelimen kautta.
Aamulla Itä-Uudenmaan poliisilla oli käsissään haastava tilanne. Kadulla tehty pimeä henkirikos ilman selviä johtolankoja. Puukon iskuja oli kymmeniä. Uhrilla ei ollut puolustusvammoja, joten teko oli tullut tälle yllätyksenä.
Mitä sitä vainajasta on niin kuin saatavilla ne tiedot ja siitä yritetään niin kuin lähteä. Ja sitten tämä lähialueen tutkiminen, löytyykö tekovälinettä, lähipensaat ja siitä se laajenee ja sitten lähialueen valvontakamerat ja sitten meillä tietenkin monta tutkintalinjaa on aina sekin rikoksessa, että se ei mennä pelkästään yhdellä linjalla. Epäiltynä on ne henkilöt, jotka viime aikana on ollut niin kuin tekemissä tämän henkilön kanssa ja samoin sitten läheinen piiri, mitä hänellä on, niin ne on aina siinä tutkintalinjassa mukana.
Poliisi epäili alkuvaiheessa myös naisen aviomiestä. Hänet otettiin kiinni, mutta se oli väärä linja.
Sitten tietenkin tämä alueen osalta, että minkälaista sopivaa tekijämateriaalia voisi olla, niin niitäkin ruvettiin haarukoimaan heti siinä alkuvaiheessa. Ja se oli aika niin kuin laaja se meidän tutkinnan alkuvaiheen niin kuin linjaus, että ei selkeää suuntaa ollut.
Tutkinnan kannalta ratkaisevaa oli läheisen terveysaseman valvontakamerakuvat ja niiden nopea julkistaminen.
Tuossa lähellä 200 metrin päässä on yksi valvontakamera tuosta, missä tallentuu sitten mieshahmo, joka sopii sitten tähän tekoaikaan. Että hän tulee tähän tekopaikalle, tekopaikkaa kohti kävelee ja poistuu tästä tekopaikalta myös tämä mieshahmo. Ja poistuessaan sillä oli kantamuksia mukana, joka sitten myöhemmin osoittautuukin sitten uhrin omaisuudeksi.
Poliisin tutkimukset noin 50-vuotiaan vantaalaisnaisen murhapaikalla ovat jatkuneet vielä tänäänkin. Ainut havainto epäilystä on tekopaikan lähellä olevista terveysaseman valvontakameroista.
Siitä näkee kyllä, että minkä kokoinen, millaisella tyylillä henkilö kävelee.
Tappaja ryösti teon yhteydessä myös naisen laukun, joka löytyy Hyrylän keskustasta myöhemmin.
Eriskummaiselta tuntuu, jos pelkästään rahallinen omaisuus olisi tämän motiivina, että en rupea tässä vaiheessa vielä spekuloimaan sitä, että mikä se motiivi on tälle teolle, mutta harvinaisluontoiselta tapaukselta tämä kuulostaa.
Tällä kuvalla me päästiin sitten julkisuuteen ja median kautta sitten ruvettiin saamaan vinkkejä. Yksi vinkki oli sitten sellainen, minkä kautta päästiin sitten tekijän jäljille. Kuvahan ei ollut kauhean selvä tietenkään, koska se oli öinen ilta ja pimeä, mutta kävelytyylistä niin eräs sitten vihjeenantaja tunnisti, että olisiko mahdollisesti tämä henkilö kysymyksessä ja sen kautta me lähdettiin sitten selvittämään sitä asiaa.
Vihjeen antanut tunsi videolla kävelleen miehen ja poliisi sai henkilöllisyyden selville sitä kautta. Epäilty asui muutaman 100 metrin päässä murhapaikalta Hyrylän Nappulakatu 2. Poliisi löysi asunnosta miehen lisäksi myös kannabista. Miten se kiinniotto tehtiin?
Kiinniotto tehtiin hänen asunnossaan hän löytyi kotoa ja se oli ei siinä ole mitään erityisesti siinä kiinniottotilanteessa ollut.
Vantaan käräjäoikeus on vanginnut 34-vuotiaan miehen epäiltynä vantaalaisnaisen murhasta. Surma tapahtui viime lauantaina aamuyöllä Tuusulassa, kun nainen oli tulossa ravintolasta.
Miten tämä epäilty on puhunut tästä teosta kuulusteluissa, eli myöntääkö hän teon?
Epäilty on kyllä keskustellut meidän kanssa, mutta sitten kun kysytään itse tästä tapahtumasta, niin hän ei sitten kommentoi niihin asioihin. Mutta muuten kyllä keskustelee poliisin kanssa muista olosuhteista kyllä, mutta ei tästä itse tapahtumasta. Ja kiistää sen koko tapahtuman.
Tutkinta jatkui. Naisen käsilaukku oli löytynyt maastosta ja myöhemmin sen vetoketjusta saatiin tekijän DNA. Poliisi tutki myös Nappulakadun talon roskalaatikot.
Hän oli pyrkinyt hävittämään näitä todistusaineistoa, että sieltä löytyi sitten todisteita.
Sekajäteastiasta löytyi uhrin musta olkalaukku. Muovipussissa taasen oli tappajan verentyneitä vaatteita. Todisteet olivat selvät. Miehen takista löytyi hänen DNAnsa sekä naisen verta. Miehen tossuista taasen löytyi naisen veriroiskeita, mikä todisti miehen olleen hyvin lähellä tekoa. Tutkinnassa selvisi, että uhri ja tekijä eivät tunteneet toisiaan.
Esitutkinnassa tekijä ei avannut sitä, että millä tavalla hän valikoi esimerkiksi tämän uhrinsa, mutta se aikaikkuna, mikä meillä oli, eli mihin aikaan tuli puhelu ja mihin aikaan me nähtiin tekijä liikkuvan valvontakamerassa, niin puhutaan kuitenkin tällaisesta 10-15 minuutin aikaikkunasta, että sen aikaa se tekijä on voinut niin sanotusti etsiä uhria, mutta onko se kohdannut tämän uhrin tässä vai onko hän seurannut uhria, niin se ei esitutkinnan aikana käynyt ilmi. Hän oli käynyt tutustumassa erilaiseen materiaaliin, mikä sitten tuki tätä hänen surmatekoa. Eli oli käynyt tutustumassa siihen, että miten henkilön voi esimerkiksi surmata tai tällaisia vaihtoehtoja haki siihen ja hävittää todisteita ja tämän tyyppistä.
Murhasyyte luettiin huhtikuussa 2016. Puolustus kiisti murhan, mutta myönsi tapon.
Hän muistaa sen, että hän on lähtenyt ulos. Hän ei muista syytä, miksi hän on lähtenyt ulos. Hänellä on mielikuva siitä, että hän on ollut ulkona kävelemässä. Hänellä on mielikuva siitä, että hän on törmännyt sitten uhriin. Ja hänellä on mielikuva tästä päällekäymisestä ja poistumisesta paikalta. Minulle on vieläkin epäselvää, että miksi tämä on tapahtunut, mutta olemme vastanneet, että tämä selittävä tekijä on todennäköisesti mielenhäiriö.
Oikeus katsoi teon lopulta murhaksi sen raakuuden takia ja piti rikosta järjettömänä.
Ja kyllä tässä nyt tällä kertaa oli todella huonoa tuuria, että kuka tahansa voi tällaiseen tekoon uhriutua.
-vuotias oli määrätty mielentilatutkimukseen, jossa hänet oli todettu syyntakeettomaksi ja murhatuomion jälkeen hänet siirrettiin tahdonvastaiseen hoitoon Niuvanniemeen. Tapauksessa selvisi, että mies oli irtisanoutunut lentokentän turvatarkastajan tehtävistä noin 1,5 vuotta ennen tekoa. Mielenterveys oli heikennyt ja mies poltti kannabista päivittäin. Muutamaa viikkoa ennen surmatekoa mieheltä oli poistettu viisauden hammas, mikä johti käytöksen muutokseen. Skitsofreniaa sairastanut mies oli kokenut, että hänet oli kopioitu toiseen ruumiiseen. Mitä mietit siitä jutusta nyt?
No, aikaa on tietenkin mennyt, mutta nyt kun tulin tähän paikan päälle ja ainahan se pysähdyttää niin kuin miettimään ja kyllä se hiljaiseksi aina vähän vetää.
Video recording. Lighting. From the video recording, you can clearly see the street lamps that I have marked on the map with a square, as well as Hyrilanti, which is partially lit by street lights. The scene of PÄIVI LOHI's murder, which is fully visible and illuminated. PÄIVI's murder should be shown on this surveillance camera tape and what really happened in this area. This video surveillance tape could prove my claims to be baseless if they were published, but what would be the truth if this video recording is published is that you could see these cars that were driven near the crosswalk and how PÄIVI LOHI walks to the non-visible side of the vans that were parked near the crosswalk. In other words, this video would show PÄIVI LOHI's murder and how it was carried out. Video recording. Gavrilov walks to the crime scene. When Gavrilov has walked towards the crime scene looking for a victim he can kill, most likely for no reason. At the first, he would have met this drunk person who passed PÄIVI and Kari Kirki's car in front of the pharmacy at 0:33. If this would be the real situation and not a highly planned and systematic murder of PÄIVI LOHI, Gavrilov would kill this drunk person near murder scene of PÄIVI LOHI inside the A1 circle where their paths would have been crossed. This opportunity to kill a person is so good that Gavrilov would not miss this if he really was on the run for killing somebody and was not a one member of this group that killed PÄIVI LOHI with a massive cooperation patterns where there was about 20 people involved it. Video recording. Taxis on video. After Gavrilov has walked away from the crime scene, at the beginning of the video recording, a car can be seen driving away from the crime scene. This car could be the dark station wagon taxi that Pekka Bergqvist mentions in his statement. Looking at the video, there is a light source on the roof of this car that clearly suggests a taxi. These taxis and their drivers are by no means unknown to me as a criminal investigator, and one such taxi driver appears in Anneli Aura's case, where Aura's new boyfriend was convicted with Aura of sexually abusing Aura's children. This convicted taxi driver was Jens Kuka, and the reason why he is involved in Aura's case in the first place is that he most likely worked as a taxi driver on the night between the 1st of December, 2006 and the 2nd of December, 2006 when Pekka Pupati left club president due to feeling unwell, because he was most obviously poisoned there in the bar, and he has taken the first taxi from the outside, which was driven by Jens Kuka and in whose ride he died. This first taxi was apparently at the same time as Tuajar Peltola in front of the municipality's building in Park, and it has acted as a barrier car if bystander cars are entering on the upcoming crime scene during the PÄIVI LOHI murder operation. Since there were apparently no bystander cars involved in the incident, this taxi drove past the crime scene and went where it was going. After about 10 seconds, another similar car with a light source on the roof that strongly suggests a taxi comes in the opposite direction, which clearly indicates that there are some dirty taxi drivers in Finland who participate in these murder operations in the field, and where these taxis have most obviously played a big role, that PÄIVI LOHI do not get away from this upcoming murder scene of her into safe when these two taxis have been on duty in the Hairila area and have been involved in this murder of PÄIVI LOHI, just like Jens Kuka played a major role with his taxi in which Pekka Pupati died. Video recording. Gavrilov and the handbag. In the comeback video, Raku Gavrilov carries PÄIVI LOHI's handbag. However, This handbag has not been with PÄIVI LOHI when she has walked towards the crime scene because the portier of Bar Parmigia have not given this handbag of PÄIVI LOHI to her, which they had confiscated because of the fake liquor that Vilkaukiainen had put in PÄIVI's bag. PÄIVI LOHI has been offered Marilyn's bag, which has not been hers, so it has been completely pointless for PÄIVI to take this empty bag which was not even hers. How this bag ended up with Gavrilov is that this bag was apparently brought to the crime scene with a van that dropped people to the guard posts along Highrilanti, like one person who was left near the pharmacy and who pretended to be a drunk person when he walked past PÄIVI and Kari Kurj's car when they were in park in front of the pharmacy. Marilyn's bag has apparently been in this car, the location of which was most likely to appear as one of the vans at the crime scene, and in which Marilyn's bag traveled to the crime scene and all the way to Raku Gavrilov. This video reveals that the bag that Gavrilov is holding is Marilyn's bag. Evidence number 1 referring to Marilyn's bag. The 2:1 ratio of the Marilyn bag and shoulder strap can be clearly seen in the video. If Gavrilov was carrying PÄIVI's black bag, there would not be such a big empty gap between the shoulder strap that hangs almost to the ground when Gavrilov carries it straight from the bag. If it was PÄIVI's black bag, the shoulder strap would reach the knee at the most when it is carried this way. Pictures 1, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 17 and 22 prove that the bag that Gavrilov carries has a 2:1 length ratio shoulder strap compared to the dimensions of the bag, while the length ratio of the shoulder strap in PÄIVI's black bag is 1:1. Evidence number 2 referring to Marilyn's bag. If this was PÄIVI's real black bag, Gavrilov would carry this bag by its carrying handles, which would mean that the opening between this carrying handle would be visible in the video through which the light could pass, and none of these images in the video support that Gavrilov was carrying PÄIVI's black bag, and which was later found in Gavrilov's garbage shed when this Marilyn bag was found on the Jakarinpaku, which means that Gavrilov got this PÄIVI's black bag quite probably from Bar Parmigia. Portier Joel Kaito, after when Gavrilov had walked into this surveillance video at 1:05 o'clock, which would be 100% proof that this group that murdered PÄIVI LOHI in Hairila was in close cooperation, where everyone has known each other all the way up to Raku Gavrilov and Tom Erik LOHI, and why Raku Gavrilov was in Bar Parmigia after this murder on Saturday at 18 o'clock to 19 o'clock. Video recording. Hatchback car in park. The video shows a car that is in the park at the other end of the health center than where the surveillance camera is. This car is clearly a dark-colored hatchback car, just like Tom Erik Lohen's Mazda 2. In the video, the car looks light, just like Raku Gavrilov's clothes, because it is an infrared camera. However, Gavrilov's clothes were dark, which means that the light car in the surveillance camera must also be dark in color. There is a big question mark as to whether this car is Tom Erik LOHI's in which he came to the crime scene, but it is certain that Tom Erik LOHI could not have left the crime scene with this car because he was covered in blood after PÄIVI's stabbing, and this car had to be retrieved after when Tom Erik LOHI has taken a shower and changed his clothes. Video recording. Man figure in video. At the end of the video, where Raku Gavrilov is walking away from the crime scene, a dark human-like figure appears near the car and moves towards the car. There is a big question mark, whether this is just a darkening of the camera or a reflection of the lens, which can be seen a lot in the recording, but none of them form a darkening in the shape of a person. The next time this person-shaped darkening appears near the car, about a couple of seconds after the first person-shaped darkening. This darkening is more clearly visible and more human-shaped, but they are still woefully inaccurate. If we look at these darkenings based on the following example case, where I have used the part of the video where Gavrilov walks half in the light and half in the dark. On the left side is the original video and on the right side I have covered the light side, so the video shows only the upper part of Gavrilov walking against the dark side. This video shows how difficult it is to see a person on video when there is not enough lighting around. Gavrilov's dark clothes produce vague darkening of the video, so it would be hard to tell afterwards if it is a person. Based on this, it could well be assumed that these two vague shadows near the car were a person who participated in PÄIVI LOHI's murder, which is also supported by the fact that there were almost 20 people around this case, most of whom were located in the vicinity of this crime scene where their role has been to act as watchmen and report if their place is empty of potential eyewitnesses. Video recording. Edited surveillance video. This video, which the Finnish police has published on the internet, is a cut version, where Aku Gavrilov walks away from the crime scene. The video stops and Gavrilov reappears in the picture after about 3.9 seconds. There is a big question mark as to what this cut part of the video contained and why it had to be removed before the release of the video. I have made good evaluations of Gavrilov's movements on video and measured them with the help of Google Earth, and where I got these measurements. I have determined Gavrilov's walking speed from the time spent traveling between two parking spaces, where two parking spaces mean a distance of 5 meters, and from the video, which has been slowed down by a factor of 0.25, I have obtained the time spent here, which is about 3 seconds. This gives a walking speed of about 1.64 meters per second. The cut part of the video recording during which Gavrilov has been disappeared is at distance about 6.41 meters, which means at a walking speed of 1.64 meters per second. The missing time that has been cut off from the surveillance video recording is about 3.9 seconds. I don't think that this has been cut out for fun, but in this time period there was something that caused the police to cut it out, like a clearer picture of a person who was caught on video recording but which the police don't want to show, and what I presented under the previous title where I had presented vague person-shaped darkenings from the video surveillance recording, which is supported by the fact that about 20 people participated in PÄIVI LOHI's murder, most of whom were stationed in the immediate vicinity of the murder site as watchmen in case of possible eyewitnesses. So at least against all odds, I see that is most likely that this Finnish blue team of stupids and organized criminal league of Gerionio together with these members of the national coalition Bar Parmaja owner and his motorcycle club would have managed to finish this case so well that no one would have accidentally rolled onto this video recording by accident. This action clearly shows that the Finnish police's criminal investigations are 100% biased, where they cut these surveillance camera images into the form that supports the police's own false and biased criminal investigation statements, which is a false description of the course of events and what is this case of PÄIVI LOHI, who was murdered in Hairila, of which there are two different versions of the police criminal investigation report, one for the public and the other is secret, which clearly indicates that this secret version is a description of the true course of events and which would secretly support these criminal investigations of mine, where Tom Erik Lohi, Ville Kaukiainen and Marko Olin are the persons who murdered PÄIVI LOHI, with massive cooperation patterns involving the Finnish police all the way to the 112 emergency center staff, which has closed the call from PÄIVI when she called related to the poisoning of her in Bar Parmaja and the things that were stolen from her at the same time. Video recording. Surveillance video camera. But what piqued my interest in this security video is that in almost all of these murders orchestrated by the Finnish police, these video recordings have played a leading role, such as the Hairila murder, whose tapes show the police scapegoats alone being convicted of these murders, even though they are only a small part of these murders. Where these scapegoats play the biggest role is to confess everything they are accused of so that the other 20 people who participated in PÄIVI LOHI's murder will not be convicted. According to Google Maps, these surveillance cameras were not yet in the picture in August 2009, but they had appeared on the walls of the health center by September 2011. The installation of these video surveillance cameras in the old health center only sometime in 2010 is of course extremely suspicious, and why were they not installed sometime in the 90s already? If this case is looked at from the point of view and how it appears to my eyes, that these murder operations are the systematic actions and operations of the Finnish police, as also the continuous mapping of these crime scenes and their construction that are a part of the activities of the Finnish police, and where the person responsible for the Hairila crime scene has clearly been the brother of the award-winning police officer in Jones of Veli-Pekka Gavrilaf's sister's son, Riku Gavrilaf, for whom these Hairila security cameras could very well have been installed, and whose responsibility this construction of the Hairila murder scene has most obviously been. Video surveillance cameras which have been installed at this upcoming crime scene of the Finnish police and Riku Gavrilaf, where a Finnish citizen will die either for violating moral codes or simply as a citizen who is financially unprofitable for the Finnish state. However, I don't think that PÄIVI LOHI's murder has been planned since 2010 when these video surveillance cameras were installed, but this Hairila crime scene was built long before anyone even knew that PÄIVI was the person who would be murdered at this Finnish police crime scene, which means that in this Hairila crime scene, there would have been any Finnish citizen instead of PÄIVI. Video recording. Woman who recognized Gavrilaf. The person who had recognized Riku Gavrilaf from the video was his ex-girlfriend Krista Tavisalmi, who has only focused on slandering her ex-dating partner completely baselessly, that this Finnish police screwing with some mental health disorder and medically non-existent and imaginary schizophrenia will pass in the eyes of the people. Krista has said that she has recognized Riku from this video. This is for sure same kind of bullshit from Krista, because no one can even recognize themselves from this video, the quality of which is too weak to recognize a person, let alone that Krista would have recognized her own ex 5 years after they broke up. And if you take Riku's statements into account, he didn't even selfishly identify himself in the video, and even though Riku's statements have as little weight as the Finnish police, it could be very possible that someone other than Riku Gavrilaf is walking here, and if he could prove this, then this should be the biggest scandal since Giuliano, because everything that the Finnish police publishes in the name of truth and justice is a lie. And what are these Hairila criminal investigations, where at least 60% eyewitness accounts is fake stories? But for me, this 40% is enough to solve the real course of the events of the PÄIVI LOHI's murder. Based on its poor quality of the video, which clearly indicates that Krista is a part of this group that murdered PÄIVI LOHI in Hairila, and her role was to give this false eyewitness statement quickly by a phone to the police in order to get this police scam in the end as quickly as possible after being processed in the corrupt Finnish courts as false to the archive. Krista, who recognized her own ex-spouse after 5 years from an extremely low-quality video, clearly indicates that he is a part of this group that murdered PÄIVI LOHI in Hairila, where Krista's role has been to give this tip from among the people like we should be a real democracy, and which would magically lead the dirty cops of Finland through the magical forest directly to the back door of Riku Gavrilaf, like in the real hero movies, but there are no hero stories filmed in these night streets. of Hairila but a real Nazi executions and what this National Coalition blue team of stupids are doing with the help of these eyewitnesses. Krista has divorced Raku in 2010, i.e. around the same time as these surveillance cameras also appeared on the walls of Hairila Health Center, and 5 years after the divorce, Krista could not connect Raku to this murder, who in practice would already been living a life of his own, and how all the lies told about Raku only proves that Krista's eyewitness accounts are almost 100% lies, and there is a big question mark as to whether Krista has really even dated Raku, because PÄIVI LOHI's murder investigation on the police side is full of the most incredible contradictions and lies only to cover up to this bullshit of the Finnish police, and how this murder of PÄIVI LOHI was just a bad luck and coincidence that led to murder of PÄIVI LOHI. These stories from Krista that she is the long-divorced girlfriend of Raku are most obviously just a made-up story, with the support of which she gives an eyewitness account of the man moving the camera, who she recognized as Raku Gavrilov, whom nobody can really recognize from this video because of the bad quality of its video recording. Workplace of Krista. But you'll never believe what I'm going to show you next. This Krista Tavisalmi works at the Helsinki LOHI, one of whose business areas is these surveillance cameras that belong to access control. There is a big question mark as to whether LOHI Keskus installed these Hairila security cameras, but I don't think that this signal would have come from Krista Tavisalmi, who seems to work only in customer service, and she is not necessarily involved in the company's orders to the extent that she could install these surveillance cameras on the walls of the Hairila Health Center. However, I see that this company has not been involved in the murder of PÄIVI LOHI in the light of this evidence, and Krista Tavisalmi is just a single person who now happens to work in Helsinki LOHI that offers solutions related to access control. Video recording. Geocaching Hervasniemi and Kyrki. But unlike LOHI Keskus, the geocaching company and its owner Harry Hervasniemi, who had called PÄIVI Kurj that the police had asked about him, are clearly linked to PÄIVI's murder. There is no way to find out from the police's criminal investigation records how the police even knew how to contact the geocaching company Kaivanala, which clearly indicates that this geocaching company is involved in this murder of PÄIVI LOHI, where its role has been to create these geocache places near the Hairila pharmacy that would serve as an alibi for Kari and PÄIVI Kurj to be at the scene of PÄIVI LOHI's murder at the exact same time as PÄIVI LOHI is being murdered. One of these people involved in PÄIVI LOHI's murder is the Finnish police, who has forgotten and failed to say how it has linked the geocaching company and its owner Harry Hervasniemi to PÄIVI Kyrki, because in my eyes, the Finnish police simply could not have any information about that in this area has some geocaches. In my eyes, the Finnish police has only two ways that they could have linked Kari and PÄIVI Kyrki in this case is 1. Kari and PÄIVI Kyrki have caught with their car in some of the surveillance video near the area, which shows the car's registration number, but in this case, the police would have contacted Kari Kyrki directly, and whose car PÄIVI and Kari were driving in Hairila and was parked in front of the pharmacy. 2. Another real evidence that PÄIVI and Kari Kyrki was in front of the pharmacy could have came from the telecommunication data, but the Finnish police have hidden this information from me in their criminal investigation records about whose phones were active in this area at the same time as PÄIVI LOHI was murdered. But I suspect that there have been active only unrecognizable prepaid cell phones in this area when PÄIVI LOHI was murdered, which is a clear trademark of the golden Mercedes-Benz of the Finnish police, Giuliano and his criminal organization's presence in this crime scene. Kari and Päivi Kurki were interviewed until the 7th of December, 2015, i.e. 10 days after Päivi Lohi's murder. The fact that neither of these people, Kari and Päivi Kurki, don't notice Hairila's murder in the media and report themselves to the police as eyewitnesses is extremely suspicious when you take into account all the other references between Päivi and Kari Kurki regarding their involvement in this murder of Päivi Lohi, which they clearly are involved in my criminal investigation. This action by the Finnish police and Kari and Päivi Kurki only says that this sister couple is cooperating with the Finnish police and they are together part of this group that murdered Päivi Lohi in Hairila. Considering that in Finland, Tuomas Trasvuori was murdered in Uganda, where he was lured by the misleading commission of the arms manufacturer Patria, together with Suvi Linden, and that Päivi Lohi's murder involved ABB employees Ville Kaukiainen and Marko Olin, as also this geocaching company Kaivan Ala and its owner, Harri Hervasniemi, which is a clear link to the business world in Finland, which machinates these murders in cooperation with the Finnish police. Video recording. End text of Päivi Lohi. Päivi Lohi, who was murdered in Hairila with 50 stab wounds and who was still alive at the time of the 25th stabbing, must have thought in her last moments that these people will still be caught for her murder in Finland under the rule of law. The events in the night streets of Hairila has relied all these years upon the non-existent criminal investigations of the Finnish police, which does not follow at any law at all. Law that only serves as a justification and an excuse for running Europe's biggest drug trade inside the Finnish police headquarters, murdering Finnish citizens on the night streets of Hairila and leaving the resulting bodies to rot in the trunks of cars for bystanders to find. Rotting bodies that now belongs to the merits of my one-man army and is a part of my resume about the skills and the abilities that I carry. The Finnish police, whose actions are guided more by the 10 commandments of the medieval church, which it obeys and in whose name the national coalition ministers are also fascinated and where they get new forms of action to this new dictatorship of authorities that kills its disadvantaged citizens in the night streets of Hairila and the clinics of medical care with the help of the imaginary diseases, which also goes as justification to send these human rats of medicine into medical concentration camps of national coalition whose patients are more valuable than gold in terms of weight to these illegal medical brain research of Turku University, which is not only illegal, but a crimes against humanity and what the Nazis were known for and whose footsteps the White King of the Coalition and little bit Waco Sauli the Two-Face Niinisto is walking with his leading party, National Coalition, while he is not playing James Bond in Swedish soil. Although Päivi Lohi's murder investigation is now in better hands than ever and will reveal all the leads hidden by the Finnish police as a result of its own pathetic actions as a law enforcer, but it will not bring Päivi back to this world, just like it cannot fulfill the empty head of the Sauli the Two-Face Niinisto with a higher intelligence, but it may bring something that Päivi may have thought in her last seconds, that this case will be solved all the way to the top in the name of the rule of law, that is not represented in Finland by the National Coalition blue team of stupids, who run a drug trade from their own headquarters, or by a judiciary that is known only for the fake kidnapping of cone elevators and media mogul Antti-Paapa Herlin's relative, Minna Nurminen, and the sentencing the Finnish problematic citizens based on imaginary diseases to the human rat farms of the National Coalition for the use of medicine. In this video, a Finnish policeman drags a woman who tried to commit suicide as if she were a murderer, shows what kind of sense of justice has been taught to this Finnish blue team of stupid by this White King of the Coalition and a little bit Waco Sauli the Two-Face Niinisto, who is the #1 idiot from Turku University. And in the case of the Finnish police, All its functions seem to be on the wrong side of the law, including this murder of PÄIVI LOHI, which could not have been carried out by some vague group from society without the guidance of the police. PÄIVI LOHI, whose murder in night streets of Hirila is not solved by this imaginary number one man elected by the Finnish people, the White King of the Coalition and little bit Waco Sauli, the two-faced Niinisto who plays James Bond on the soil of Sweden while he is not playing stupid in Finland with his other friends with empty heads, Jari Aunio and Mikael Runeberg. PÄIVI LOHI, whose cremated body lies today on top of Tom Erik Lois' fireplace in a jar, is just an indication of how sick ideology drives this White King of the Coalition and little bit Waco Sauli, the two-faced Niinisto in forward, which is like a resurrection of Nazi party with people executed on the night streets of Hirila and Tetankatu without any connection to the Finnish judiciary other than in such a way that these signals for these executions come from informal conversations of persons acting in the name of the Finnish judiciary and which are put into practice on the night streets of Helsinki as a part of an unofficial working hours and whose main perpetrators are work in the name of the Finnish judiciary during the daytime.